So where are we going to build it? What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Sports Talk Buffalo. This has been a hot topic of conversation ever since Terry Pegula bought the Buffalo Bills in 2014 for $1.4 billion. Now, it was known for a very long time that the Buffalo Bills, they needed a new stadium simply because the stadium that they are currently playing in, Highmark Stadium, is one of the oldest stadiums in the league. I believe it is the second oldest stadium in the league, and it opened 48 years ago in 1973. And even though it seems like these talks have been happening all year long, and for previous years, it seems like this has been a hot topic of conversation for a very long time, it has seemed recently that this topic has really picked up speed and that it is now almost completely inevitable that in the very near future, the Buffalo Bills are going to get a new stadium. And I say that because now the preliminary analysis report has been recently released, and it shows everything that we have been talking about and debating for the last 5-6 years. The report estimated renovations on Highmark Stadium, because they did do a report about the renovations on Highmark Stadium and tried to provide that as a viable option, would have been $862 million, but it would only last with continuous upgrades for about 10 to 15 years in this study, is what they are saying. Versus if the Bills were to build a brand new stadium, the price tag at the low end would be $1.34 billion to build an open air stadium in Orchard Park for 30 years, which is the estimated time that it will last, with the same amount of upgrades and renovations as it would have been done at Highmark Stadium with the other price tag. So it is clear that the building the stadium is absolutely the best and most cost-effective thing that the Pegulas can do in this situation. And building a new stadium is something that we can all get excited about, because who doesn't love brand new shiny things? We have been going to Highmark Stadium since the early 70s. It is all we have ever known. And now we get to be one of the premier stadiums, potentially, in the entire NFL. Now, let's first look at, we want to look at which location, okay? A lot of people want it downtown. Some people, a lot of people want it in Orchard Park. So let's go over the two locations and talk about the pros and cons of each. First, let's look at building it downtown. We're going to look at some positives to consider. According to the report, it could help spur investment in the stadium district, which would be obviously in and around the area of the stadium. Based on projected growth trends, it would help multifamily residential grow at about 6.1%, commercial at about 3.2%, retail at about 3%, and hospitality at about 16.6%. All of those things sound tremendous and is exactly what everyone who wants the stadium downtown is clamoring about. The fact that it could potentially build up this area of downtown is a huge benefit to putting this stadium downtown. Another pro to building it downtown was that the infrastructure would have to get massive upgrades, making it easier for people to come in and out of downtown, and would be easier for them to be able to direct cars on game day. The incredible increase of cars that would be coming into downtown on game days. So the entire infrastructure around the stadium would have to be completely and 100% upgraded, and that is a positive long-term for the city of Buffalo. Now let's look at some negatives to having it downtown. The project would take, according to this report, an extra full year to complete. The cost is a massive problem also when you consider having a stadium downtown, as the land where they are considering, or where they considering building this is not what they consider shovel ready. So they would have to buy the land, knock the buildings down, and then start building the stadium, which is estimated to take at least another full year on top of if you were to just have the land ready, available, and to build the stadium. It would also cost, there's a big cost to buy the land. It's also because of the existing laws and environmental factors that go into downtown. If the building cannot be seated north and south like it is supposed to, and it has to be faced east, west, or any other direction, it is a necessity that the stadium has a dome to go downtown, and that whole thing, buying the land, displacing all the people, displacing the businesses, knocking it down, infrastructure, building the stadium, comes at a price tag of $2.1 billion. Now, that is almost double the price that I said earlier, building an open-air stadium in Orchard Park. Another one is the displacement of over 200 families and businesses in this area. Now, it might not seem like a lot. However, to upheave the life of nearly 200 people and businesses is a big thing, and something that the city would absolutely, and the Pegulas would absolutely have to think about when considering building a stadium downtown. The biggest thing to me and a lot of other people is the potential catastrophic results it could have on the atmosphere in and around Highmark Stadium, as if you build a stadium downtown, there's just not enough land for people to be able to go and enjoy the game the same way that we have enjoyed the game since the early 70s. Lots of tailgating, lots of cars downtown. Some people make an entire weekend out of it with RV lots. There just simply isn't a space to do that downtown, and that could have a real negative impact on the type of atmosphere that is created within Highmark Stadium. And I think that having one of the best atmospheres talked about in the entire NFL, not just amongst fans and the media, but amongst players, would be a huge deal and a huge loss for the Buffalo Bills if they were to build it downtown. Now let's look at building it in Orchard Park. Let's stay with the negatives. One of the negatives is obviously relatively no investment and development in Orchard Park and the surrounding areas. As it is projected in this study that only 1.6% increase in retail with the new stadium and no other increases in and around the stadium if it was built in Orchard Park. Now, when you look at the negatives, in my opinion, that's really the only negative that you have for building the stadium in Orchard Park. Now, you look at some of the positives. The land that the Bills want to build it on is already owned by Erie County. It is a lot across the street from the existing stadium, so it is shovel ready. There is nothing on it. They can just start building the stadium as soon as they get the agreement in place. So it would also take them a year less time for the Bills to be able to move into their new stadium. The cost would clearly be cheaper at just $1.35 or $1.54 billion as opposed to the $2.1 billion that I stated earlier with a potential stadium downtown. And this is for an open air stadium in Orchard Park. And if you wanted a domed stadium in Orchard Park, it would still be a far less of an expense at just $1.652 billion, according to the report. Or an idea that I don't think any of us ever thought about is a roof-ready stadium, which means they build the stadium to be able to accommodate a roof later as opposed to dumping all that money into it right now. They make a roof-ready stadium that could accommodate a roof later at $1.463 billion. And in my opinion, if you are really thinking about potentially doing a dome and you just want to see how the investment is going to pay off, potentially spending the extra $109 million for the potential of a future dome, especially for a lot of fans, would be a huge plus. A lot of people say if you're going to spend that much, why not spend the extra $298 million and just build a dome? However, I think the Pegulas, having spent tons of money in Western New York as of late, should have the option to potentially see how much of a return on their investment this stadium is going to give them. And it would be a nice compromise for people who would potentially be able to get their dome sometime down the road. And the last positive is, as I mentioned before, the atmosphere would stay 100% completely the same, which is absolutely fantastic. Again, for the players, for the media, for the fans, especially for the fans. I just went to a game this past week at Highmark Stadium. It was so much fun. I have so much fun. No, Bills Mafia is not just jumping through tables. However, it is super fun to get with your friends, set up a barbecue, and really have the whole game day feel. It is a full day experience with the Buffalo Bills game. And if you are not parked directly in front of the stadium, it is relatively easy to get out and get away from the stadium, as it only took us about 25 to 30 minutes to get out of the parking lot and start going home in the current configuration that the Bills Stadium has now. So my opinion is I would love to see the stadium be built with either a roof-ready design or a domed stadium, potentially in Orchard Park, so that we could have everything that we want, including the atmosphere that people so desperately love in Western New York. That's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you for watching. Remember, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you guys never miss a video. Thank you, guys. Have a fantastic week.